At this time, I'd like to welcome photographer Matt Gaynor and historian and filmmaker Daniel E. Walker to the stage, who collaborated to create this striking photo exposition, which is entitled Sunshine and Central. You see it around you. You also had the opportunity to pick up this. I ask you to take this with you, read it, consider it, and I'd like you to welcome Matt and Daniel to the stage.
I think we should really start with a thank you. Thank you to the Price Center for Social Innovation. Richard, thank you, thank you, thank you. So Richard called us up and said, I have this idea for this project, and we're doing this conference. And that's where this project really started. For me, though, to try to picture South Los Angeles, to picture LA, it's the first person in your video who said LA is and then laughs. That's sort of my version of what LA is. It's so big and complex and nuanced and beautiful and challenging, and to deal with something with a point of departure with the uprisings in 1992, I had to go back to where I was at in 1992, which is in a basement apartment in St. Louis, recording with the VCR the images that were being broadcast of Reginald Denny and Rodney King being assaulted on these important intersections in Florence and Normandy and Foothill and Osborne. And so I went to those sites and see what I find, and looking for signs, and got down to Florence and Normandy several times to just sort of let it resonate and say, like, where's the sort of sign that says what's important here, and where's the sort of collective historical memory that we all share of that place? And it really just is embedded in those tapes, because when you get there, there's Art's Chili Dogs, there's a gas station, there's a liquor store, there's community, there's people going about their days. And when I got up to Foothill and Osborne, though, in Lakeview Terrace, I was really excited. There's a library there, and I thought, okay, this is a great point of departure. I'm a library person. And so I went into the library and asked the librarian, where's the reference section? Where's the thing that tells me sort of like about this big pivotal event that started right here where we're standing? And he just sort of shook his head and said, well, we're not so good at sort of remembering this stuff, which kind of was a bummer. I went outside, and there's a public artwork, and since we're here to talk about art, I thought, this is beautiful. So there's this public artwork that was commissioned, I guess around 2003, something like this, that deals with historical memory, specifically Lakeview Terrace as a place. And it has all these quotes from these community members. And I thought, great, so this is where I'm going to hear the stuff that Rodney King said about his experience here. But he wasn't there. And so when we talk about inclusiveness, it's a little prickly, sticky thing, especially when we're talking about sort of putting our stamp on it and saying, this is what's important to remember. So I walked across the store to the liquor store, across the street to the liquor store at Florence and at Foothill and Osborne. Got a bag of peanut M&Ms because I was hungry. You know, you need to eat while you're working. And asked the guy at the liquor store, so do you know the site? I'm looking for the site. Where was Rodney King beaten? And he looked up at me and said, Rodney who? I said, Rodney King. He said, I don't know, I'm new here, man. So Daniel and I were talking, and this is, I think, where I sort of step away from the podium. But we were talking about, like, what does that mean? Like, how do we compartmentalize these important moments and try to understand them and deal with them and work through them? And I was kind of struggling with the idea, like, where do I start? Where do we point our camera? And Daniel said, listen, next week we have an interview set up with this young guy named Sergio, and we're going to go to Inglewood, and he's going to educate us, right? And so that's really what this project has been about for us. It's been talking to these young people who almost entirely are people who were born after the Civil Unrest, right? And so their LA is different than the LA that I knew when I was their age. Their landscape shares some of the same things, but it's a different set of challenges. And our process really was one of listening, observing, collaborating, and really, actually, for all the folks who are in the photographs, thank you, because it really was a collaboration with you as well. And by the way, a lot of the folks who are in the photographs are here today, so maybe I hand it over and we can talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So, as a historian, as a filmmaker, the issue is the story. And the story I've always tried to, and the work me and Matt have done over the years, has been to try to let the subject speak for themselves and try not to be the person who's the filter to try to tell you what we found out. So, to having said that, for the people who are in the exhibit, please stand up. So they are in the room with you. Please stand up. All right, where's Bridget? Stay standing, you guys. Stay standing, stay standing, stay standing. So if you look around the room, what we did was we chose to try to concentrate on people who were born, 92 or after. And so that includes people like Bridget, stay standing, girl. All right. People like Bridget Carballo, who is a student at El Camino College, but is going to be transferring to UC Santa Barbara, who wants to be a sociologist, and you guys need to talk to her while she's here. You need to engage her in her ideas, and not only in a mentorship capacity, but also she understands what's going on. Next in the back right there is Mr. Delvon Purvis, and Delvon has had this really interesting kind of educational route, mixing education and athletics, and he now runs a program in Watts where he's trying to use athletics to teach the kind of real basic discipline skills that one needs to be successful in academics. And for all of you guys who are policymakers, or you represent the city of Los Angeles, or Watts may be your district, or you study things like that, he's a lifetime resident of Watts who has options to go other places, but has chosen to stay here and do that work. So he's a person you need to talk to. Over here in the back in the corner is, is my man, Christian Sanchez. And Christian is a good dude. Christian is an advocate for DACA and Dreamers. Christian has no qualms about saying who he is and trying to encourage people to be bold in who they are in this world and in this time and in this space in America, this unique time and space. He wants to be a historian. I don't know what's up with that. You might want to go to another direction, brother, on that one. But he is here. And Esmeralda, stand up. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Esmeralda is the picture right over here. So Esmeralda is his younger sister who's a high school student right now who's an aspiring filmmaker, and who in the process even we were like, this is what this looks like when you do this work. So once again, for the people who tomorrow are doing cinema, that's a person that we want to have you talk to, mentor. The next person up there is Richard Sache. Richard, shake your hand. There you go. All right. Richard is like this. Richard is a pipeline program in and of himself. I'm dead serious about this. So at Morningside High School, every week, Richard is there telling the students from 9th through 12th grade, this is what you need to do to get to college. Not just talking to them about that, meeting with their parents, helping them through. Then when they transition to a place like El Camino or Southwest, he's guiding them through all the different courses that they need to take. Who's the teacher to take? Who not to take? What's your financial aid? How do you do this? And as they transition to USC or Dominguez or Harvard or wherever else it is, he's still there with them moving through. When he transferred from El Camino, I was like, dude, you need to go somewhere else. But he said, I got to stay here because I can't leave these people behind. The homies. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's real right there, okay? And that dude has a portfolio of like 250 kids he's whirling with right now with no funding from anybody, just because that's what he wants to do. I'm just, and then we got Jalen Coleman. Jalen, give him, all right? So Jalen is from Compton. And Jalen is an artist, a filmmaker. Jalen's won all kinds of awards, everything else. He works with Black Tree TV. Bill Duke is one of his mentors, everything else. But he lives in Compton. And he's a part of an artist collective there in Compton where these young people are getting together through spoken word, through creative writing, through film, you name it. And once a month, they're out there putting their beauty and their spirit out into the world. And they believe that they are creating art, not just for art's sake, but to be transformative. So these people were in the room, and there's others who will be here. We have Shakayla Johnson, who's over here. She'll be here tomorrow. She's a food justice advocate fighter in Watts. She said, I've been all over the United States, and I never saw anybody who looked like me talking about these things in my community. So they will be here. Last person I just wanted to kind of shout out in the back over here is Sergio Guerrero, who is actually, he'll be here in just a second. Sergio is the mad accordion player back there. Dude is the bomb. He's everywhere at quinceañeras and parties and graduations and everything else, leading this band. He learned how to play the accordion on YouTube. What I'm trying to say is it's a different world than where we came from, all right? And so we just need to embrace these folk. They will be here. I have them sitting with you so you can engage them and they can engage you. Thank you guys very much. We really appreciate the opportunity.